The question is that the motion be agreed to. Andrew
Mr. Speaker, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, what we have now is the dying months of a shabby, grubby national government. Oh yes, that last speech was one of the biggest statements of conceit that we've had from a junior minister from this government for a long, long time. A statement of conceit. There are none so blind as those who will not see, as Mr. Jamie Lee Ross well knows. She talks about the job fairs. Well, I tell you what, the job fairs were wonderful for the Melbourne business community, especially the taxi drivers, because they profited to the tune of nearly $1,300 from one minister alone ferrying himself around with the Melbourne taxis at the expense of the New Zealand taxpayer. That was his contribution to the job fair for New Zealand in Melbourne. We have now, what we are observing now, and we can smell it from here, is the rancid smell of the decay of this government now starting to rise, now starting to bubble up. Let's just have a look at it. A government overtaken by arrogance, by contempt, and now by conceit. Look at the issues. Contempt for conflicts of interest in ministerial portfolios. A failure of economic management of gross proportions, and I'm going to come back to these in a minute. Boondoggles and pork barrel in Northland. And they can't even get that right. They put it all up there, they can't even get themselves elected. Out of control spending, abject denial of issues that are screaming out for attention. House prices in Auckland would be one of them. What we have now is no longer a government, we've got a dog and pony show. Oh yes, you knew that was going to come up. We've got the show pony leader. The show pony leader is now more pony puller. He's the ponytail puller from Parnell. And a government that has lost its way and no longer knows what to do, as if it ever did. Let's have a look at this. We expect in our ministers, in our cabinet ministers, the highest standards of conduct. We don't expect ministers to be flippant about, to be cavalier about conflicts of interest, because this government never gets it right. It thinks our people are nice, they are good people, how can they possibly do anything wrong? And that's not the issue when it comes to conflicts of interest. The issue about conflicts of interest, no matter who the minister is, whether it's the Prime Minister or anybody else, is the integrity of that public office. And the public are entitled to know that our ministers, occupying the most senior and highest offices in the land, that they conduct themselves with utmost integrity. And when there is a risk or a potential or a real conflict of interest, they step aside from it. They shouldn't have to be asked. They shouldn't have to be browbeaten from office before it happens. And I am confident that when the full facts emerge of various situations concerning this government over the last few months, the New Zealand public will be horrified. They will be shocked at the increasingly cavalier and contemptuous approach that this government takes to that important part of occupying public office. Let's have a look at economic management. This government will go down in history as one of the most reckless we have ever had. They've ridden the wave, the complacent wave of high commodity prices, and they thought, nothing to do here. This is all going swimmingly for us. We don't have to worry about the future because we won't be around long enough to have to deal with it. Well, now it's catching up with them. The commodity prices have been falling for well over a year now, and they know that the tsunami is about to hit, or the lack of it actually, the $7 billion hole that will emerge in this economy later this year, when the dairy price, when the farmers cannot get the returns on their goods and on their work. $7 billion hole in our economy. And of course it will be bigger than that, because there's a multiplier effect. As that money washes through the economy, when it fails to wash through the economy, then it's less work, less income, less revenue for many more businesses and many more working people. That's what's going to hit New Zealand in the latter part of this year, and this government couldn't care. That's why they're all looking down now, because they don't really care about that stuff. They've ridden the wave of the benefits of it, and they do not care about it. And they bury their heads in the sand like the member opposite, bury their heads in the sand because they just don't care. And they sit by and say, here, these are the signs of success. A rapidly out of control Auckland housing market, this is their sign of success. They don't care that innocent Aucklanders, young working families being shut out of the housing market, because they've never cared about that. They've lost the egalitarian, the basic New Zealand egalitarian ethos long ago. Never cared about it, never will. A shabby, grubby government on its way out with no vision.
The